Now, as ENCA, the news channel, comes up on 5 years, a sibling joins the fold as enca.com is now live online. Let's talk to the, how should we call them, the chief midwives. Charlotte Kilbane, eNews Online Editor, along with Tim Spira, who is General Manager, eNews Online Division. First of all, congratulations to you both. I know it's been a lot of hard work. Tim, Thanks. A big move. You're leveraging an already strong brand. Talk us through the development over the past year or so. I've seen lots of people with hoodies wandering around the place. They're the developers. What have they been doing?
Yeah, look, the question I get asked a lot is what's taken so long? How has it been 4 years since we launched ENCA or eNews as it was then as a 24-hour news channel, and we're only now launching with a website? And I think the reason has partly to do with the fact that we always knew it was going to be a very video-rich experience, and the broadband penetration just really hasn't been there up until now, and that's now beginning to change. But that also led to some particular challenges that we had, which I guess were quite unique to a website being launched from a news broadcaster as opposed to, for example, a newspaper. So we had to figure out a whole lot of things, like how do you actually get the video onto the computer screen or onto a mobile screen or a tablet screen? How do you make sure that it's optimized for an individual user's experience, their device, their bandwidth? And then also, how do we serve up content? So we've been building up what I guess are called content management assets or content management systems over the past year. We've been assembling a very fantastic team, and then really all credit must go to them. I think we've managed to find some wonderful talent and some pretty natty hoodies as well. Yeah, they've put the site together. Yeah, I think more recently the focus has been much more on the editorial side of things.
Well, let's get to that, Charlotte. But before that, complementary, but also in time possibly competitive. You're responding to a change, no doubt, in media consumption, and this is a global trend.
It is, absolutely. And I kind of hope that we're not ever going to be competitive as such. We're really going for an integrated newsroom, and it's been a big part of our strategy in terms of the editorial side of the business, that we want to be part and parcel of a broader newsroom. And yes, the web is where it's going, and integration and convergence, those are the words you hear all the time when people talk about really the future of journalism. And the future is integrated, and we're hoping that we can kind of be the vanguard of that future in South Africa.
All right, a log on, how do you organize content on the site? That's critical. Aesthetically, it's got to be pleasing, hasn't it?
Yes, we've taken some of our cues from television, and I mean, I've been a television person for several years now, and a lot of our people within the editorial team come from the television part of this business as well. So we've kind of tried to make it vibrant, very visual, and with a bit of movement as well. It's not kind of, a lot of sites you see a kind of like newspaper put on screen, and we're the opposite of that. So we organize our content according to tabs. You'll have a top stories tab, and that's kind of our landing page. So those are editorially the stories that we think you really need to know. So if you only have time for one tab, that's the tab you go to.
Tim, I hear website, but everywhere I look and everybody I interview on this program talks to me about app. Does one replace the other? Does one complement the other? There's obviously got to be a future strategy here too.
It really does depend on one's strategy. In certain instances, an app can replace a web experience. We're in the planning phases now of an app, and one also can't really talk about an app either, because there's so many devices now proliferating in the market that when you talk about apps, you need to think about a whole range of devices. Our app strategy, I think, will be very much to complement what we're doing on the website. One of the things that we're very cognizant of is the fact that a lot of people look at their phones or their tablets while they're watching TV, and we'd like to provide an experience that gives them perhaps a little bit more context to what they're already seeing on TV. I think the website does that to a certain extent, but certainly will extend that with apps for various devices.
All right, Charlotte, final question to you. News breaks.
Yes.
How do you fit into the broader continuum?
Well, there's a general acceptance that you go web first. So we try to break the news first online, but I think often, because we have such an amazing television team and we're really backed by this amazing juggernaut of television, I think often we'll break it together, probably.
Folks, thank you very much indeed, and I wish you all the very best. And in case you're wondering, by the way, where the Mags on Media mugs are, I think one of your payoff lines is News on the Move. There's a coffee cup, and we're launching that on the program today as well. I think you'll agree with me that any brand these days wants a captive audience, and if it can provide a veneer of exclusivity, all the better. Well, that strategy seems to have worked particularly well for a brand called 5Gum, part of the global Wrigley Group, and two guests with us now, Jason Cedarwall from Wrigley, South Africa, along with Mike Sharman from Retroviral Digital. To both of you, a very warm welcome and thanks for joining us. First of all, 5Gum, how does it fit into the broader chewing gum market?
Right, so if you have a look at a South African perspective, the 5Gum brand launched into South Africa just under 2 years ago, and we already had an existing portfolio of brands within this country in terms of Orbit and Airwave. So it was a very tactical move for us to be able to target a brand that was very specifically targeted towards a lifestyle orientation, but more specifically towards the youth of the market.
Okay, that lifestyle orientation, give us some insights. How, when, why do people chew gum? Is there, I'm sure you've mined that data extensively.
Absolutely. You know, to get back to my previous point, we have a stable of brands, and each one of those brands kind of targets a very specific, what we like to call the mood management state of chewing gum. So Orbit being very centered around
the mood management state of chewing
Absolutely.
gum. That's the quote of the show.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So whether it be from chewing after every meal to getting ready for a serious occasion, whereas 5Gum is more centered around this lifestyle, kind of fun, social, kind of interactive, and boredom management as well. So that's where kind of 5Gum is plugging that whole thing.
Boredom management. So what, you're at a party, you've got nothing to do, you know, it's something to do, pop the gum in the mouth. That's
well, we like to think that we create the environments for you to be not bored. So it's not just about the chewing gum, it's about creating that environment for people to experience a whole new way of...
This is a very competitive market worldwide,
so,
isn't it?
Very much so. I mean, if you have a look at the South African context, it's just under R1 billion category with a very competitive, I mean, there's 6 or 7 players within this market. So, you know, for us to launch a brand into this market, you know, there's a lot up for grabs, and the traction that 5Gum has had with relatively low spend and share of voice without spending a single rand on media, and the market share that we have in fact captured is testament to that there is something there within that youth market.
You know, Mike, this was your cue while we were talking to actually pop some gum into your mouth, but you missed the opportunity. What was the brief then? What were you told to do?
I met Jason probably about 18 months ago. They'd already launched their first 5Gum experience, and they were about to do their second one. And the insight really that we developed from a digital communications point of view was that, you know, generally when brands bring out bands to South Africa, it's the band that scoops all the share of voice and not the brand. So the insight is really, we need to create something that generates brand before band. And that's the ethos that we operate on each 5Gum
So the
experience.
pure logistics of the exercise, the experience itself, again, I made the point in the introduction about creating that veneer of exclusivity. That was important. What was your expectation?
You know, I think for us, you know, if we go back to the original brief, kind of Mike summed it up, you know, it's about the brand before the brand, because for us it's not just about a concert. It's about a holistic approach of the global brand positioning is about stimulate your senses. So how can we take that platform and kind of activate it on numerous platforms? So it's not just about a concert, it's about a whole myriad of events that lead up to a particular event, which is what we now call the 5Gum experience.
So that heightened sense of expectation, and you're part of something that no one else is part of.
You are exactly that. And it's about that kind of part of exclusivity, but it's about leading them on a treasure hunt. So using geolocation devices to lead people on a treasure hunt to be the first to be able to get tickets. It's about being part of the world's first user-generated building projections. It's about being bused to a location that you have no idea where this location is. So it's the holistic experience. It's not just about the concert.
And what was the take-up like? I mean, people obviously, that target market that you were looking for was embracing something like this, surely.
It's been phenomenal. Yeah. And when we saw with the first for the Two Door Cinema Club event, the numbers on the Facebook page grew from 1,700 to 10,200 within the space of two and a half weeks. And that was without any Facebook media spend to acquire that new community. And also, the thinking is really, brands want to create a cult. They want to create a cult following. And they want to follow the likes of the Harley Davidson that targeted a niche community of bikers who had tattoos and ponytails. And that's exactly what this gum has done so well in achieving in the last 2 years, in just under 2 years, is it's developed a cult of really young, cool, hip individuals that are seeding the messaging for the brand.
Yeah.
They own the brand. In their
Jason,
minds.
brand before band.
Yes.
Is there an expectation then of the band, Two Door Cinema Club or the Kooks, I think you said?
Yes.
Did they have any role to play in this, or were they peripheral in the equation? The
It's-
fact that you just got people there was enough.
It's kind of been an interesting journey when we first started this. You know, bands generally don't want to be associated with brands. So to kind of sell the vision that we had to these brands was a massive hurdle. But once we had gotten over that hurdle, the second part of it, so the Kooks, these bands almost want to be part of it because it's kind of blowing up the expectation bigger than what it actually is. So, you know, to have the band trending on Twitter for 4 days in a row is huge. To have the 5 Gum experience trending for 4 days in a row is
Bottom
absolute-
line, are you selling more gum as a result of this intervention, or
Yeah.
these interventions?
I mean, like I said, we launched about 2 years ago, and what we've achieved within 2 years in terms of that billion-rand category and the market share that we've captured without spending a single rand on media, I think is testament to the fact that it's working for us.
It's a fun campaign as well, gentlemen. Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed. Coming up on the programme, why a big insurance brand is associating itself with the world's biggest football brand.